Mixing, a process where producers and engineers use a variety of plugins like EQs and compressors, and a variety of other effects to turn raw recordings into polished records. And if you're just getting started with mixing, you've probably searched online to see if you need to purchase expensive third-party plugins to get that professional sound. But what if we removed all third-party plugins? Could we still achieve that great sounding mix? What if we even removed the free third-party plugins? Could we still make a song sound polished and professional by only using FL Studio's stock plugins? Let's find out. So the song we're going to be working with today is by my friend Da Vinci. Let me just play a little bit of what it sounds like for you raw. This is with no effects except for some slight tuning, but I'll show you how I achieved that stock in FL Studio.
I said, girl, I hope you know just what you mean to me. Know you way more beautiful than any of this scenery. A while since I love, and to be honest, it came easily. Said she feel the same with me everything she see with me.
So the first thing that I like to do when I start mixing is make sure my session is nice and organized. So as you can see here, I have all of the tracks labeled 4 through 9, and you could also see here I have a vocal bus. So this is very important. What you want to do is double click and highlight everything, and then right click and route to this track only. So that way all of these tracks are only being routed to this vocal bus, because when we do some processing on all the vocals, this is going to help us group all the processing together, which you're going to see in just a little bit. So after we do that, another thing that I really like to use in FL Studio just for the organization's sake is to use these track mode settings in FL Studio. So if you right click any track right here, you go to track mode and then you press audio track. Once you have everything labeled in the mixer, you're able to select which track you want them to link. So as you can see here on this first track, if I right click track mode and I put beat, now this is being selected to the beat. And what this basically does is if you were to grab any audio clip and drag it onto that track, it automatically drags it and it moves it into that track. And these track modes are super great to use in FL Studio, because usually when you're recording in FL Studio, it's very easy to have audio clips moved around everywhere and you may not know where it's being linked to in the mixer, which you want to avoid, because let's say you have your ad libs all the way up here and then you have your verses all mixed around and your sessions unorganized like this. It's going to be very hard for you to see your processing. So just for a simple quality of life thing, again, I like to organize my tracks in this way, so that way it's nice and neat. So as you can see now, everything is nice and color coordinated. So now basically what happens is, let's say if I wanted to move this adlib track up and have it be processed by the verse leads instead of the adlib processing, when you move it up, since this is all one clip, it's going to give you this prompt. You just click yes, and then as you can see, the adlibs are moved to track 8 but on this first half, but then on this second half where I moved it up, it's down to track 7. But if I wanted to grab this and move this down one more time, you can see it can go back to track 8. So that's the beauty of using this track mode. So now what I want to do is I want to play the song for you without any plugins, any pitch correction, anything, so you can hear what it sounds like raw. It's going to sound pretty funny. Sorry, Devin, but this is what it sounds like raw.
I said, girl, I hope you know just what you mean to me. Know you way more beautiful than any of this scenery. A while since I love, and to be honest, it came easily. Said she feel the same with me everything she see me put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you.
So that's obviously with no pitch correction. So the first plugin that we want to use for every insert is going to be this FL Studio free plugin called Pitcher. So to find the song key of your beat, all you have to do is go to a website called TuneBat, drag your beat into that website, and then it'll spit out the key for you. So for this instrumental, I already knew that the song key is in A minor. So all I had to do was select the key. I pressed A, and then whether it's major or minor, so it was minor. And then if you have it set to fast, that's your classic like super auto tune setting, and then if you have it slow, it's going to be a little bit more natural. But for these vocals, I want it to be very, very fast, so that way we get that classic auto tune effect. Since we have all these audio clips routed to different inserts on the mixer in FL Studio, the main reason why we want to do that is because we want each individual audio clip to kind of have its own auto tune in case there's certain places where the audio is overlapping, because with these auto tune plugins, they can only read one source at a time. So if you're sending 2 vocals to one plugin at the same time, then it's going to throw off your auto tune, which is why we don't want to route all these clips into one insert. We want to have them all on their own individual insert if you want a good sound. And a good example of that right here is this little section right here. So if you can see, we have the vocal right here, and then we have some other vocals layering over it. So let's play what that sounds like right here real quick.
I don't got no plans to cut it off, I'm never leaving. Baby, let me dive in, I'm indulging in the deep end.
So as you can see, there's a lot going on here. We have the lead, we have somewhat similar to an Adlib track, but it's still on the lead track, and then we have the Adlibs under it. And if all of these 3 audio clips were sent to the same insert and they were all being processed by the one auto tune, they could all be hitting different notes, and that's going to confuse your auto tune, and then it's going to give you a poor, bad sound, which is something that you do not want. So that's why I highly recommend for you to make sure that you route each individual section into its own mixer track. But to prevent making your sessions look like a giant cluttered mess, do it how I do it here, which I like to stagger my clips. So for my hook section right here, again, I have my hook leads on the top, and then I have my hook lead on the bottom. So anything that's hook related, I could just stagger. So even if they were overlapping like this little section right here, basically it's still going to be processed with its own individual auto-tune plugin, because again, we're going to have a hook lead 1 insert on the mixer and then a hook lead 2 insert. So that way the auto-tune isn't getting confused. Same thing with the ad-libs and the verse leads. You just kind of repeat that formula and stagger it like that to make sure that your sessions are nice and neat. So that's the first plugin that we used. So since we routed all of these inserts right here to this vocal bus is the only place where I want group processing to be handled. So with that being said, the first plugin that I typically use when I'm mixing vocals is an EQ. So the main reason why we use an EQ first is because I want to tame all the nasty frequencies that I don't want to hear within the vocals. So what I like to do is I like to go down, filter out all the lows of the vocals, because if we have that in our vocals, that could potentially get in the way of the bass or your 808 and throw off the whole mix if you have a really bass heavy vocal. So we're gonna do that first with the EQ.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like. Said she feel just like she dreaming. Told her bust it up and go ahead and let me ease in. I don't got no place to cut it off, I'm never leaving. Baby, let me dive in, I'm indulging in the deep end.
So you don't want to do too much. A nice little tip is, yeah, go really high with a low cut filter and then drag it back until you barely hear it, so that way you don't get rid of too much body within your vocal. So I set it to 89 hertz, which I felt is good for this vocal. Then the next thing I like to do is tame any resonant frequencies. And if you don't know what a resonant frequency is, it's basically a frequency that just kind of has like a harsh whistle or sound that sticks out within a sound source. That's kind of how I perceive what resonant frequencies are. So usually when I'm mixing a vocal, I hear a lot of resonant frequencies within this low mid area. As you can see right here, I'll hear resonant frequencies in the low mid area, and then there's also some resonant frequencies sometimes within the high area right here, the treble and the high. But let's go ahead and reset both of these, and then let's just find the resonant frequencies in the low mids, because I do hear like a slight boxy tone in the low mids in this vocal.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
So that's what I mean by resonant frequencies. It's like that whistling sounding frequency that sticks out.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind.
So we're gonna go ahead and lower that down a little bit.
Together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
And then with this vocal, I feel like it's kind of like slightly nasally. So that's usually within this 1K region. This is just the artist. Since I've worked with this artist for years on end, I always kind of focus on this frequency area because I'm used to how it sounds. So the more that you do this, the more you're going to understand what frequencies you like versus what frequencies you don't like whenever you're mixing.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
And if you use your scroll wheel, it'll snap into different positions. But if you feel like this is too dramatic of a snap, then what you could do is you could go down here and then you click, and then it's a little bit more variable, so you can get like better slopes in between or better cues in between.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
So that's like that little honky kind of frequency that I don't like, so I'm gonna lower that a bit.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
And then another thing that I actually do like to do is change. So these are like nodes. So right here, you can see this is a node on the EQ, but sometimes I like to change it to like a shelf. Sometimes this second band, so that way I could just lower slightly these lows right here, so that way the highs are sticking through a little bit more. So I don't like to overdo it, but I also like doing that just so that way the body isn't taking out too much, but it's not super in the way, because usually you want a little bit more treble. But again, this is all a preference thing, and this is just my preference when I'm mixing vocals. vocals. So let's hear what this sounds like.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
And then let's do a little bit more in the mid frequency range right here.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
So then we're just gonna alt click and then drag that down. And then this is basically what we have for our first EQ. So keep in mind, with the first EQ, you want to subtract frequencies. And then later on, you could add frequencies that you like. But first, always subtract. So let's hear what that sounds like right here.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
With.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
So we're just taming a lot of like that low body muddiness that's getting in the way of the clarity with the vocal. So that's the first plugin we're going to use. And then the second plugin we're going to use is something called compression, which I'm sure you may be already familiar with. Some people are, some people aren't. But for those who aren't, all compression really is it turns down the loud parts of a signal and then it raises the quiet parts of a signal. The thing about the stock compressor in FL Studio is I think it needs a huge update, at least for the regular compressor, because this right here sucks. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. This thing sucks. You can't really tell what it's doing. Like, if you know nothing about compression, you're gonna look at these knobs and you're not really gonna understand what is happening to your signal. Yeah, you may be able to hear certain things, but if you really do not know what you're doing, this fruity compressor is honestly terrible. The main reason why it's terrible is because it doesn't have a sort of meter showing you how much gain reduction you're getting within your signal, which a lot of compressors have. And if you're just going purely off your ear, yeah, it's good to use your ear when you're mixing, but this isn't very helpful at all. So instead of using the fruity compressor, we're going to go ahead and delete that. I would actually opt for you guys to use the fruity limiter instead. Yes, limiters and compressors are different, but with this fruity limiter, I love this because it has your little analyzer right here. But as you can see, we have two modes. We have a limit mode and a compressor mode. So when you set it to compressor mode, you want to make sure you have compressor mode set. And now you have all the same settings as a regular compressor with a little bit more, and you actually have the luxury of having a visual waveform to see how much gain reduction you're getting. So this is what it sounds like on the verse right here.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
So as you can see, I paused it right here, and we have like high peaks right here, and then it gets low, and then it gets really low right here, and then it goes up again, and then it gets low, and then it goes up. So again, that's the main job of a compressor. The compressor is supposed to level out all of these things. And as you can see with the regular fruity compressor, if I bring that back up again, it doesn't really have any of that information. You can't see any of this information. So again, I would use a fruity limiter. And as far as dialing in this compressor, all you have to do is turn this threshold down. So again, this is beautiful for compressing your vocals stock in FL Studio because it's giving you all the visual information you need, especially if you're a beginner and don't know what you're doing when it comes to compression. You just lower the threshold to adjust the peak. So basically this is just triggering when the compression is happening. So I'm lowering this blue line right here. So it's hitting the peak of the low parts, but the middle of the high parts. So that way it's gonna compress to about a decent range where it's gonna be picking up on those high parts and then just like leveling everything out. But if you just lower the threshold and don't do anything else, you're not going to achieve any compression because you have to change the ratio. So if you want subtle compression, you could do 2-to-1. But if you want a little bit more aggressive compression, then just raise your ratio up, which I think 4-to-1 is still pretty transparent, but it gives you enough compression to really compress your vocals nicely. So that way it's really even within the audio signal. So that way your vocals aren't jumping up and down within the mix. And if you're confused as to where the numbers are on FL Studio, all you have to do is when you're clicking right here, if you click and then if you look at the top left, you can see when you move the knobs, any knob for that matter in FL Studio, you'll see like the value there on the top left if you don't know where to look. So that's the value right there. So I'm using 4-to-1. Then we're going to hear this real quick. We're going to see how much it's doing.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like.
So to me, the compression isn't really doing too much. So we're going to lower the threshold a little bit more. I'll probably lower it to like maybe like 25-ish. Let's see what that sounds like.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to flaunt it, trying to see it through like. Said she feel just like she dreaming.
And then I'm just gonna open up the attack a little bit so it lets the beginning transient come through a little bit and then the release. If you guys want an advanced compression tutorial explaining all of these details, just let me know in the comments below. I could probably get around to that, but I'm just gonna dial it in like this for right now because it's just simple. And then after you adjust your attack and release settings, then all you have to do is raise the gain again to level match your signal.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like. Said she feel just like she dreaming. Told her bust it up and go ahead and let me ease it. I don't got no plans to cut it off, I'm never leaving. Baby, let me dive in. Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like. Said she feel just like she put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like. Said she feel just like she dreaming. Told her bust it up and go ahead and let me ease it. I don't got no plans to cut it off, I'm never leaving. Baby, let me dive in, I'm indulging in deep in.
So the original signal right here is the purple, and then the compressed part is this top peak right here, and then the output that you're getting is the white. So as you can see now, it's a little bit more level with everything else. The white is a little bit more consistent as far as like the difference in volume goes. So when you do that with compression, you're going to add some sort of artifacts and character back into your signal. So for that reason, I'm going to EQ again. I like to use a second EQ and then just remove a little bit more of like that boxy frequency that we get back from the compression.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm.
So again, I filter out the lows again, just a tiny little bit.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna.
And then tame that boxy frequency right there.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you.
And then a little bit of like that harsh, scratchy tone.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like. Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like.
So the next thing that I added right here for the vocals was this Maximus plugin. And then what you want to do with this Maximus is go to your presets, and then I click this De-Esser narrowband right there. And then basically what this Maximus does is it splits your vocals into 3 sections. So you have your lows, your mids, and your highs. But again, if I solo this mids right here, that's where all of our S's are. So that's this yellow tab right here. So you could adjust how wide you want it to find like the frequency range of where you want it to tame, but then you click this yellow part right here, and then yeah, you just lower the gain of it a little bit right here, so that way you're lowering the S sounds in your mix, so that way that your S's aren't too harsh and scratchy in your vocal.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like. Put together how I need it to. Let me dive in, I'm indulging in deep in.
I'm gonna go back to the EQ, just the EQ a little bit.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like.
And then after the de-esser, really the only thing left to do in the vocal is just bring in the highs. So you could do that in 2 ways. You could either use this EQ that's built into the mixer right here. So I like to turn this one up a lot too. And then you could change the Q right here, and then also where you want it to affect, and then by how much you want to turn it up. Or you can just add another EQ plugin, but for simplicity's sake, all I'm really going to do is use this right here, because if I don't need to open up another plugin and potentially save CPU power, that's better. Usually when you're mixing, less is more. A lot of people like to fill these up with a billion effects and a billion plugins and all that kind of stuff when they're beginning, which I get, but in all reality, a really good professional mixer is always going to get the most out of the sound with the least plugins possible. That's just how you know you have a good sound and a good mix.
Put together how I need it to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like. Said she feel just like she dreaming. Told her bust it open, go ahead and let me ease in. I don't got no plans to cut it off, I'm never leaving. Baby, let me dive in, I'm indulging in the deep end. Want every part of you. Said I miss the way you sound, it's late night and I'm calling you. Said that I need all of you. Girl, I ain't gon' lie, I'm hardly sober, no, I'm on a few. Got ass and she got attitude, I'm gone. Shawty hold it down, but we ain't up, so she gon' stay here till I'm on.
So that's pretty much it for the lead vocals. Let me go ahead and turn the processing on and off so we can hear the difference.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like.
And then this is with the effects on.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, tryna flaunt it, tryna see it through like.
Cool. So now that's a little bit cleaner. So you're really just cleaning up the sound of the vocals. Again, depending on your recording environment, if you're in a poor recording environment, you are going to have to do way more heavy-handed processing to fix the nasty sound of the recording environment that you were in. But luckily we recorded this in a good recording environment. So again, we're getting away with very minimal processing. You don't need too much processing if you have a really good sound source to begin with. But aside from just the corrective processing that we did here on this vocal bus track, the next thing that we want to do is add some sort of reverb and delay. So the way that I like to go about that is I like to go on a free insert. So we'll do the reverb first. Let me just go ahead and rename this reverb right here. And then I'm going to color it purple. And then the first thing that I like to do is I like to add an EQ. And then I like to filter my reverbs going in so that way it's not getting too much of the full reverb sound. And you're going to see what I mean in just a second. So I filter it going in, and then we're going to use, since we're using stock plugins, we're going to go ahead and use Fruity Reverb too. So honestly, there's a few plugins that I really love in FL Studio, stock FL Studio. I love the EQ. I love the reverb. The limiter is kind of cool for the compressor. The compressor I don't like, but this reverb is really good. The delay is also really good too. So what I like to do is I like to just increase the size of the room. So basically, if you click right here and drag, you can make the room size small or you can make the room size big. It just depends on like the feel of the room that you want to be in. So I want the vocals to feel like they're in a big, nice room. So I like this graph right here because it gives you a visual representation of kind of like, I guess, how the room size is changing or whatever. And then since I put this on an insert track right here, let's actually create a little space right here so that way you know that these are going to be sends. So since these are sends, what I like to do is I like to turn my dry all the way down, and then I reset my wet knob right here so that way it's only the wet signal. And then since all of these vocals again are being routed to the vocal bus right here, then I want to route the vocal bus to the reverb. But instead of routing to this track only, we want to route to this track because we still want the vocal bus to be sent to our master, but we also want a little bit of the vocal bus signal, which is all these tracks from the vocal bus sent to the reverb, so that way we're getting a little bit of reverb. And then basically if I press play, you're gonna hear what it sounds like.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm tryna be with you.
So that's not dialed in, and obviously we're at 100%. Again, if you look at the top left on FL Studio, you'll be able to see the amount that you have. So let me just reset that real quick, or actually let me lower it to 0, and then let's actually dial in the reverb. So again, I have another video explaining how to get the perfect settings for your reverb, and I have an equation and I explain the equation as to why we use this specific equation. But if you want to check out that video, you can check out that video again after this video here. But we're going to use the equation that I used in that video. So 7500 divided by 100, and then I'm going to divide this by 2 twice, so 1875 is going to be our pre-delay. What the pre-delay is, again, you could find a full detailed explanation about reverb, everything about reverb in that video, but it just delays the time before the reverb starts. So I'm going to delay the reverb by 18.75 milliseconds. So right here, I'll just drag it to 18, again, looking at the top left, and then we're going to get this, we're going to multiply this by 2, 150, so the decay could be 1.5 seconds or it could be 3 seconds. Let's just try 3 seconds. If 3 seconds is too long, the decay is how long the reverb rings out for. So if I press play and then I stop it.
Put together.
So as you can hear, it rings out for 3 seconds. So that's what the decay does. The longer the decay, the more it's going to ring out. So this is a 20-second decay. You're probably only going to use this in sound design, but
Put together.
so that's what decay is. So let me just reset this back to 3 seconds right here because we calculated it. Again, you can find that in that other video. And then let me separate the stereo a little bit too. I like to drag this knob to the left because it makes the reverb a little bit wider with this separation knob right here. And then the high cut and low cut we could actually turn off. So for the high cut, you have to turn it all the way up, and then the low cut, you have to turn it off, because again, we're filtering the reverb before. And that's why I like to put the reverb on ascend versus directly on the insert, because I've also seen a lot of people, they click their reverb and then they throw it right here, and then they just dial it in like this, and then they have the dry, they have the wet like this, and then they have this mix knob right here, and they're doing that. That's one thing that I dislike about FL Studio, because I mean, you could get a good sound like that, but it's just not efficient. You want to be as efficient as possible. And when you dial in your reverb like this, you're really like limited to the sound of the reverb and the parameters on the reverb plugin. But if you have it on ascend, you could put a bunch of processing before and after your reverb to really get a more dialed in sound. So I know I'm going a little bit quick. Again, this is just like a quick video to show you how to mix with stock plugins, but if you want to know a little bit more about reverb, everything's in that reverb video. So yeah, we don't need the high cut, low cut, and then now all we have to do is click this vocal bus and then really blend in the sound of the reverb.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through like.
So that's cool. Let me go back to the reverb, and then let me put another EQ after the reverb. So we have EQ before we hit the reverb, and then an EQ after the reverb. So now this second EQ on this reverb track is going to shape the tone of the reverb sound. So if I go a little bit dramatic with it, you'll be able to hear how we're doing that.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through like.
So I'm just filtering out the highs a little bit, so that way it's not really like sticking out in the mix, but it's just like subtle and ambient and you feel it. Because with reverb, you want it to be felt more than heard most of the time. Sometimes you really want to hear the reverb, but a good majority of the time you don't really want to know it's there, but you want it so you could feel the ambience of the track being enhanced. So that's with the reverb right there.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through like.
And then now what I want to do is I want to add a delay, and FL Studio has a really nice delay plugin as well. So same thing. So I'm just going to copy this. So I'm going to click down on the arrow, save preset as. So I'm going to do the same before, and then I'm actually going to do the same after, because I like to do that with my reverbs and delays. I like to filter before and after the plugin, and then on the actual plugin right here, then throw the plugin that we're going to be using. So all right, yeah, so we're going to be using Fruity Delay 3. And yeah, the main reason why I like to filter before and after these time-based plugins is because you could really just dial in the sound more, which is, again, is better than putting it directly on the bus, because then there's no filtering or anything on some of these plugins, so you're not really able to dial in the sound how you would want to. So now with this delay plugin, what we're going to do is we're going to try to achieve a quarter note delay. So for quarter note, I think that's the 4 to 0 timing. Let's hear that real quick.
Put together how I
Okay, so that's good. Changing the timing is just going to change the time of the delay. So you could do like 2 to 0.
put together.
So that's quicker. You could do like 1.
Put together. Put together.
So the timing changes the time. So I like using a quarter note, which is 4 to 0 on this. Again, looking at the top left over here at the hint panel. That's what it's called, the hint panel.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you.
But as you can see, that's a little bit too much because we have it at full volume. So what I want to do with the delay is actually lower the feedback level. So feedback is kind of similar to the decay and reverb. The more you turn up the feedback, the more repetitions you're going to get. As you can see, it gets red because it can get really nasty really quick, and then the lower it is, it's only gonna have like 1 repetition.
Put together.
And you see it stops. But then if I raise it up,
Put together.
keeps repeating. So what we're gonna do is just lower this just a little bit, find a blend that we like.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through.
So it sounds a little bit too much. So again, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna filter the reverb.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you.
And then I'm gonna lower the mix of it.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through like.
And then let me just filter it a little bit more.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through like.
So right now it's like mono. So what I also like doing with my delays is adding a chorus plugin or a flanger plugin. So that way it's spread in the stereo. So when it's mono, it's just playing in the middle, but I want it to move to the sides. So let's actually go to Fruity Chorus. Let's try that one first. And you can just play with the presets. I like this one.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through like. Said she feel just like she dreaming. Told her bust it open, go ahead and let me ease in. I don't got no plans to cut it off, I'm never leaving. Baby,
and then what I also like doing too is sending the signal of the delay back into the reverb. So that way the delay is delaying, but then it's getting the same sound from the reverb. But you want to lower that too. It's a cool little secret trick that not a lot of people will utilize.
Put together how I needed to. I on my grind, but every day I'm trying to be with you. Know we got some distance, but I'm doing what I need to do. Give me time, I'm on it, trying to fly it, trying to see it through like. Said she feel just like she dreaming. Told her bust it open, go ahead and let me ease in. I don't got no plans to cut it off, I'm never leaving. Baby, let me dive in, I'm indulging in deep in. Want every part of you. Said I missed the way you sound, it's late night and I'm calling you. Said that I need all of you. Girl, I ain't gon' lie, I'm hardly sober, no, I'm on a few. Got ass and she got attitude, I'm gone.
Okay, cool. So now that we have the reverb and delay dialed in, we have our lead vocals for the hook and the verse dialed in. The last thing to do is the ad-libs. So with the ad-libs, I already kind of processed before I did this video. So the first thing that I like to do with the ad-libs is use an EQ to filter them. So all I did was I clicked the presets right here and I clicked radio, which basically just eliminates the lows, eliminates the highs, and then you get this sound right here.
And I'm calling you.
Okay, so that's the sound that you get from the EQ. So again, simple filter. And then again, I use the compressor setting on the limiter. So again, compressor, I just did some compression on the ad-libs because some ad-libs, when you're doing ad-libs, they can get very loud. Artists like to go from quiet to loud to quiet to loud, very dynamic. So again, I used the compression setting on the Fruity limiter to tame those dynamics.
I'm trying to be what I need.
Okay, cool. So that's the compression on the ad-libs. And then this is a super underrated plugin right here in FL Studio called the Fruity Pan-O-Matic. So what this does, it's a small little plugin. It doesn't look like it does much, but it's actually super saucy if you don't use it already. But all you have to do to program it is you have to click this pan button right here. So you click it and set it to pan, and then you just choose the amount. So what the amount does is it controls like how much it's gonna pan to the left or right. This is what it does. It pans your signal from left to right. So as you can see, if I have the amount set to a very small amount, this is like 25%, 26%. It doesn't go very far within the left and right field. But it's still moving left to right, but I just set it max at 100, which is like this.
I'm trying to be what I need. Trying to see.
And then with the speed, you can choose how fast you want it to go. So you can make it really fast. So I have the speed set to 50, but if you make it really fast, it's gonna sound super exaggerated. Which that's not really what you would want. Or if you have it super slow, it's just gonna be on one side for too long. It's not even gonna move. But I like setting it just at 50%.
I'm trying to be what I need. Trying to see.
You can even go to like 60, 75% if you want it to move a little bit quicker. But for me, the sweet spot is 50%, 50 to 55%. So that's what the Pan-O-Matic is doing for the ad-libs. And then I added this Fruity Fast distortion, but I lowered the mix to 25%. So basically, this is just like a saturator. It saturates the ad-libs so that way they stick out a little bit more in the mix. Because when they're panning left to right, it could be easy for them to get lost and buried within the mix. So I added this fast distortion right here. So as you can see, it makes it a little bit more crunchy, but we could lower it down a little bit because it is a little bit dramatic.
I'm trying to be what I need. Trying to see.
And then this is the only time I would advise to use reverb directly on a track, and that is when you're, I guess, processing something like ad-libs or layers. Now, of course, we have the ad-libs sent to the vocal bus is sent to the reverb, and then that's making the ad-libs have the reverb and the delay because we use these sends. But usually I want the ad-libs to be a little bit more back in the mix, so that's when I will throw a reverb directly onto the track, when I want certain elements to be pushed super far back into the mix. So for this fruity reverb that I used right here, same settings really, but I did adjust the low cut and the high cut. So I wanted to cut out everything under 800 hertz, and then I wanted to cut everything up to 8000 kilohertz. Same pre-delay and then same decay settings, 3 seconds. And then I turned the dry off, and then I reset the wet again because I wanted to blend the signal in with the mix on the mixer right here with this knob right here. So I set it to 50. So it just gives it like that lush ambient kind of sound. So you could probably get away with lowering a little bit or adding a bit more. Again, this is all to preference, all to taste, but let me turn all that back on, and then let's hear what everything sounds like all together. So one more time with all the plugins off, and then one time with the plugins on. So this is with the plugins off.
I should, girl, I hope you know just what you mean to me. You know you way more beautiful than any of this scenery. A while since I love, and to be honest, it came easily. Said she feel the same, and tell me everything she seen me like.
And then with all the stock plugins on.
I should, girl, I hope you know just what you mean to me. You know you way more beautiful than any of this scenery. A while since I love, and to be honest, it came easily. Said she feel the same, and tell me everything she seen me like.
Boom, and there you have it. That is how you mix in FL Studio with stock plugins. So can it be achieved? 100% yes. If you know what you're doing, you do not need any third-party plugin, really. You just gotta be a little bit creative and think in ways to use what you have. But with that being said, I still do think some third-party plugins make things easier. Like, for example, the de-essing isn't the greatest in FL Studio. There's no really stock de-esser, but you could really just get the Waves de-esser, and Waves is on a 365-year sale always, so you can get that for a pretty affordable price. Same thing with like the compressor. There's little things that you could get, which is why if you're a beginner, I do recommend getting Waves plugins first because they're the most affordable, and then as you become a little bit more advanced with your music production, then you could move on to the little more niche or more expensive plugins. So with that being said, let me know if you guys have any questions and what do you guys want to see from me in the future. If you guys like the FL Studio videos, want me to do some more FL Studio videos, whatever the case may be, just hit me up. I'm gonna be down in the comments below. Appreciate you for watching. Last thing is, if you guys want to get your music mixed and mastered professionally by an engineer, which is myself, then feel free to click the first link in the description down below, and then you can fill out a mix request form. It'll just ask you to fill out some project details, and then we can go ahead and get started on a mix for your song today. Final thing, I'm debating on maybe creating some FL Studio templates. So if that's something that you guys want to see in the future too, let me know in the comments down below, and then I could put it in my Patreon because I currently have a Patreon, and I'll be able to upload all that kind of stuff there. So that's pretty much it from me today. I appreciate you guys for sticking around to the end of this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Watch this video right here if you want to learn some more. Peace.